The class I will be focusing on is the Year 7 Timber Technology class at Carlingford High School, made up of 22 students, including both girls and boys. During Term 4, this class started to learn about timber. These students had never been in a workshop before, therefore new safety rules had to be implemented, as well as teaching the new content. Students had begun construction of their timber projects for the term. I completed a practical lesson in which students were to carry on with their project. In order to plan for this lesson, Standard 1.1 and 1.2 had to be used. Knowledge of the intellectual development and characteristics of Year 7 students and how they learn guided the development of the lesson. Having a calm and confident manner is reassuring for students relatively new to the workshop, while employing a variety of instructional methods to cater for all students. Standard 2.2 was met by organising the content that needed to be covered into an effective learning sequence. Students were given the information they needed in order to progress through the practical tasks safely and effectively. Students were given clear, simple instructions in sections so they did not get overwhelmed with the amount of information. Students who required extra assistance were given a demonstration using a teacher-made example in conjunction with a spoken explanation to help meet the needs of all learning styles. Safety issues were an important concern due to the practical nature of the lesson. Safety rules were reinforced at the beginning and enforced throughout the lesson as per Standard 4.4. Students whose behaviour violated the safety rules needed to be taken aside, reminded of the rules and the possible consequences for both himself and his peers. The student was given a warning that non-compliance with the safety rules would lead to his removal from the lesson. Within the lesson, the learning goals for marking the nail placement, pre-nailing, and starting construction of the drawer were challenging as they were new skills, yet achievable as the tasks were reasonable for the time frame. Clarification of instructions and providing demonstrations allowed for me to meet Standard 1.5. Fast finishes assisted as peer tutors, which allowed for all students to receive attention. With this particular class, a strict approach had to be used, as it was the first time I had this class in a practical room. Being strict allowed my students to realise from the beginning that I was in control and was not going to stand for any unsafe behaviour. Literacy and numeracy are focuses that should be included into each lesson. Literacy was incorporated by using technical vocabulary and explain complex concepts. Numeracy was used heavily throughout the lesson as students had to measure the distance between nails and ensure accuracy. Formal assessments used were the checking of the students' PPE. Informal assessment included the teacher taking anecdotal notes about how the students were progressing, accurate measuring techniques of the nail placement, students' ability to apply appropriate processes, and the finished quality of the work they produced. Verbal feedback was used throughout the lesson to help students that struggle with confidence and to help give the students the ability to make their own decisions. Individual feedback was given to allow for further development for each student. Feedback was also given to the class about the way that students worked throughout the lesson and how well they packed up at the end. This allowed for the students' efforts during the lesson to be recognised and encouraged for future lessons. As individuals, we all learn in different ways. David Cole developed the experimental learning model for effective learning. This made it clear that there is not just one learning style and that individuals have their own preferred learning styles. Throughout this lesson, a range of learning styles were met to allow for all students to understand. Verbal instructions were given, visual aids and demonstration were used, as well as the time frame for physical experimentation with measuring and nailing. Piaget believed that teachers should function as facilitators, aiding the students when it comes to their own understanding. This takes away focus from the teacher and puts it upon the students and their learning. In such a practical lesson, the focus must be on the student, with the teacher aiming the lesson correctly at Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and there being there to facilitate their progress. As teachers, we must be open to critical feedback and be able to reflect on our own practices. The things I did well through the lesson included having a strong, clear voice that students could easily understand. I was also informed that I held myself well in the classroom, and that allowed the students to gain trust in me and ask me questions without feeling like it was silly. At the beginning of the lesson, safety was addressed with the students clearly, but it was suggested to me that the safety rules should be up in the classroom where the students are able to refer to them. I will keep this in mind for when I have my own teaching space and put the appropriate signage up. Throughout the lesson, students asked a lot of questions regarding the next steps in the process. This could have been fixed at the beginning of the lesson by having written instructions on display or provided to the students so that they could refer to them. Having something to refer to would allow the teacher to move around more freely and prevent students from asking questions. Safety is a high priority when it comes to technology. Throughout the lesson, I moved around helping individual students, but was not aware of having my back to the majority of students at times. It was suggested that I could have a central spot and that students could come to me. While this alleviates the issue of having my back towards the students, it raises other issues about carrying tools and projects around the room.
In my own workshop, I believe I would look more carefully at the layout of the room to allow me to move while still being able to view all students. Time gets away quickly in the classroom, and I found this happened within the lesson. I was not able to complete my conclusion as I did not allow the students enough time to pack up. From this, I learned that I should keep more of an eye on the time and set an alarm during the practical lessons so that I am able to finish the lesson strongly. Through feedback, I am able to improve my teaching practices throughout my practicum.